Hey everybody out there, my name is Sean Joy aka Dragnix and welcome back to The Hunt. If you don't know what The Hunt is, it's basically 1-minute segments going over the games that I played during the week and picked up, a little bit of a taste of each of the games that I was able to play, whether or not it's good, what they have to offer. So without further ado, let's go and hunt. Social Justice Warriors, oh boy. A game that has a message more than anything else. Social Justice Warriors has you take up the mantle of one of the 4 different classes representing a form of communication, such as Twitter or Reddit. You argue against the internet trolls and wonder exactly what you're getting out of the argument, or for life in that matter. There are some clever messages behind the design of the game, like the idea that you are both the same characters, maybe you're both human, maybe you're both the same person. But in terms of gameplay, it's rather basic. Sanity meter determines how often you hit, and reputation meter is how much power you do in terms of damage to your opponent. You have 4 basic attacks, varying from healing yourself to sacrificing reputation to do massive damage to your opponent, hoping that they don't deflect it. Sometimes an ally will come down to help you as well. The writing is hit and miss, and in the end, this is more about the message behind the game more than anything else. It's a game I would watch a YouTube video on, but other than that, it does one thing for me. Shows that sometimes, internet arguments are pointless in the way they play out. Really pointless. Rooftop Cop. Usually I'm open to any form of gaming, even those that are considered more artsy forms of gaming. But this may be a whole new level of game that I just don't get. Rooftop Cop is a series of 5 mini-games that doesn't do any sort of job of explaining what you are doing or the purpose of what you're doing. The games range from making a bridge of some sort, to floating down a river building your raft with more and more salvage hoping not to crash into anything. Honestly, only one game was any sort of fun, which was when you would collect items and drop through the floors. Collect too much, go through too many floors, and you'd be squished by your own items. But look, the game isn't interesting, and the art and sound combination just doesn't do the job on any level. It may be one of those I don't get it games, but I don't get it. Mighty Dungeons. A version of the old Hero Quest board game, this is a mobile port that doesn't take advantage of its new platform to the best of its abilities. Now, I will admit something. Several bugs I ran into soured me on the experience early on, and several others never ran into these bugs, these being progression halting bugs. It's a basic dungeon crawler with a lot of options to play with, but the problem comes in the progression. A bunch of different heroes to choose from, weapons and armor, and items and spells. There's a lot of mechanics here too that never really are taken advantage of. That's the problem. A lot of the things that are here, they just don't go the next step in order to be memorable. You can hit for certain body parts, for example, but most of the time it's just easier to hit the attack button because you do enough damage anyway. You walk around, you attack, cast spells, manage your inventory. But there's one thing, why play this on the PC rather than the mobile version? That's the major problem, there is no reason. Look at the screen, it doesn't take advantage of the new platform and has lots of not used space. In the end, it just doesn't do enough for me to want to keep playing. Resident Evil Revelations 2, Episode 2. It's a step up, but it still managed to piss me off. There's some better pacing and a bit more story in this portion. There's improvement on several fronts, but the sad thing is, I still didn't like it. There's design problems all over the place. This game is attempting to be played one way and one way only, and it shows in the way the game puts enemies and set pieces in front of you and how you're supposed to react to it. And I know exactly why I have major problems with this game, the co-op. It's the same major problems with Resident Evil 5 and 6 for me. The game really forces the co-op mechanic and would definitely be more enjoyable with a friend. But having the AI partner being completely stupid and not dodge out of the way of a drill, for example, the game does not want you to be clever either. I thought I was clever in buying a perk to have my partner attack without using ammo when I ran out of ammo, and the partner doesn't use it. I will give Capcom credit. The last patch does seem to fix things back to a reasonable condition, and I do love the raid mode. That may be worth the purchase alone. But I sit here frustrated by the last episode as I just see so much wasted potential. Once again, I ask you to look around before making a judgment on this game because I feel like I can't separate my love for Revelations 1 from the performance of this game. But this game is still falling flat to me and I really don't want to continue playing it. At least not the story mode. And yet I will. Over 9,000 zombies. Oh yeah, you thought we were done with zombies this week? A top-down shooter with basic mechanics, Over 9,000 Zombies tries its best not to fire Kamehameha waves, and instead focuses on shooting zombies all over the place, and throwing grenades everywhere. It throws everything in the kitchen sink at you, so you'll have to keep up with the onslaught by upgrading your weapons by, of course, killing zombies. The game is mechanically fun, and the chaos is pretty good, but is better enjoyed in local co-op. Mostly because the netcode seems to be a little bit problematic, as even my sister and I in the same household were having connection issues. Turret and barrier building also come into play as well, and can be useful especially in the single player part of the game. The problem here is the variety doesn't last too long. It doesn't have the kind of variety to keep a game like this going, and it'll feel the same after several play sessions. It starts off strong, but sputters towards the finish line, and it is the kind of game that only people looking for a co-op experience should be looking at, as it's a lot more fun with friends. Vran. A game that released to early access, while there's a lack of overall content present for the $20 game at the moment, there's a lot of good to see here. There's a unique presentation here as the game weaves things like experience gain and the environment better than many action RPGs out there, and its use of unconventional action RPG mechanics create an experience that really stands out on its own. Weapons translate into the skills that you use, and Destiny cards give you different perks that you have, and each of them have such different strengths and weaknesses that it really begs you to try and test them out. But one of the things that the game struck me with was a sense of awe, as one of the boss battles presented really stood out, as a sense of an epic nature played out in a grueling battle with a Spider Queen. It's been a while since I've had a moment within a game that really stood out like this, and so it's got me excited for what's to come from the developer behind the Tropico series. The game is tight, and despite being simple in nature, it was very gratifying to play. There's a lot of potential here. However, as with most early access titles, the exception of course being Darkest Dungeon, I'd hold off unless you want to be involved in helping the game's process, as the game does have missing elements of story and interaction, but it's definitely going to be something that I will be playing as it progresses through its life cycle until it comes out fully at the end of May. Tallowmere. A breath of fresh air in the roguelike genre, where you sacrifice kittens for the sake of your overall well-being. Yeah, you heard me. There's a great game under the surface here, as there's a couple of things that make the game unique. For a roguelike, there's a lot of vertical combat taking place here, with the infinite jump between spikes and traps meaning that you have to time your jumps correctly and to avoid all the dangers that the dungeon has to throw at you. Weapons have a lot of variety, from throwing grenades that have a specific arc and range on them, to just stabbing people with a short-range dagger. Each run can be customized with specific restrictions to help up the challenge, such as inability to use health potions or nullifying your resistances, to the number of kittens you sacrifice giving you 10 extra max health for each one sacrificed, and putting you on a different leaderboard. Put together a bunch of new boss fights and the need to really change up your weapons and strategy to deal with all the enemies, and your shield also becoming your greatest ally. For a game that is $5 or less, you get a game that you can play for hours, and isn't that worth it? And that's the games I played in the last week. I really have to recommend Tallowmere of the games listed here, and while Vran was good, it's still in early access, and Tallowmere provided a bunch of fun for a small amount of bucks. And I love highlighting bang for buck kind of deals, especially with sales. In fact, I may be moving the hunt to a different day, because Mondays are sort of when Steam sales start up for the week. Let me know if you are for or against that. For the upcoming week, there are definitely two games that I'm looking forward to, the first being codenamed Steam. Now, while I won't be doing a segment on the hunt most likely, I don't have a 3DS capture card, the game has got me intrigued. It's described as a turn-based strategy game with elements of third-person shooters. There are comparisons to Valkyrie Chronicle games, and is compatible with some amiibos. Steampunk fantasy version of London? Sign me up. Okay, not that one. It comes out in the US on March 13th, 2015. Secondly is the violent and artistic Hotline Miami 2 for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, Vita, and PC. Different combat techniques and a continuation of the story of the first game, set for a backdrop of a game that was banned in Australia basically, due to the sum of the innards of the game. This reminds me, I really should beat the first one of these days. It comes out on March 10th. Ori and the Blind Forest comes to the PC and Xbox One on March 11th. An hauntingly beautiful looking game by its trailers, this game is one of those games that I'm just excited by the look of. And of course, being in 1080p and 60 FPS, it passes one of Total Biscuit's tests. Platformers have been coming out with a lot of unique styles lately, so we'll have to see if Ori backs up the visuals with some exciting gameplay. City Skylines comes out on March 10th, and maybe the Sim City that people have been looking for. Some early gameplay and comments from YouTubers has shown a game with a lot of promise, and with Maxis closing down within the last week, let's see if Colossus Order can replace the massive shoes that have been left in the industry. Sid Meier's Spaceships comes out on March 12th. The game is to be available on PC, Mac, and surprisingly iOS. Another strategy game from Sid Meier, and while I'm not a strategy player myself, some are looking forward to this game to get their next strategy fix. And finally, the rest of the games that come out this week in its various forms. I've been looking forward to Codename Steam for a while now, since its announcement in fact. I've been looking forward to another game to get addicted to with my 3DS, and there hasn't really been a game that grabbed me on it since Fire Emblem Awakening, which was surprising as it's not my genre cup of tea. Oh, and I guess there's Resident Evil Revelations 2 Episode 3 as well coming out this week. You can see how excited I am on that. No, really, I'm excited. I'm not being facetious whatsoever. Anyway, let me know if you're looking forward to any games next week, or if any of the games I went over this week look interesting to you. And let me know if you want something different out of this series. This is Dragnix signing out. Hope you guys have a wonderful week, and keep on gaming. Hey everybody, my name is Sean Joy, aka Dragnix, and I thank you for watching. If you do like this video, hit that like button, and if you do want more content like this from TechRaptor, hit that subscribe button. I will be doing content for TechRaptor on Mondays and Thursdays video-wise, and then doing the rest of the week on the video on my own channel. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Also, play more games. Needs more games.